You got to stop singing that song. Come on. It makes me cry every time. It touches me in that place where courage lies, in that vulnerability where we look inside, where I look inside and see all of me, all of the colors of the wind. Those are the dark colors also, the muted colors, the dangerous colors, the shameful colors, not just the sunny day colors. And when I learn to paint with all of the colors, what I paint is more alive, more genuine, has more relevance. But I just like this more alive. It's more truthful. It really resonates with what is actually life. Because life is the tides moving in and out, the moon changing, fires coming, earthquakes, presidential candidates coming and going. We teach what we are. Now, what I mean by that is when someone stands up, they're teaching. When someone speaks out, they're teaching. And they're teaching from some place within them, some place of perhaps conviction, of interest, but it's speaking from something that they care about. And the more we care about something, the more it gives us the power and the courage to do something. If a mother didn't really care about her child, when the child runs into the street in front of a bus, I got more where they come from. Really? That's a bad joke, but we know what's going to happen. I saw my wife, Susan, as we saw our little son drowning at the bottom of the pool, and all of a sudden, she was out of the chair. As I'm getting up, she has beat me to the pool and is already in the water. It was like, that's not courage. That's something that happens before we call it courage. Courage is what we call after the fact. Because when it's time for courage, do we really think about it? Because if we did, we'd say, that's probably not a good idea. Saw a movie, a clip about a man who showed incredible courage, cost him his life as he jumped. It was an old guy. Yeah, he was almost as old as me, and he was sitting in the stands and there was a little boy right in front of him. And this monster truck, the throttle stuck and it had jumped up and was coming into the stands and it was going to crush that little boy. And he grabbed the boy and threw him and out of the way as the truck hit the man. There's times in war where somebody in the foxhole throws himself on a grenade. I know this is pretty intense stuff, but did they have time to think about it? Did they have time to be courageous? No, this is an instinctual action that comes from a place within us that is connected and that has this ability to care. Because without the caring, without the love, that's not going to happen. I don't think so. Now, Lao Tzu says, I love Lao Tzu because he's so direct and short. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, says, from caring comes courage. So the more we care about something, the more we can avail ourselves to courage. It's what gets us up in the morning. It's that what do we care about? What we love, what we hold dear, our values. And when we see what we hold dear and our values being questioned or attacked, as what's happening with our government right now. The leadership is attacking core values and core principles of kindness and equity. If we care about that, it motivates us to do better, to stand up for that, to make a world that truly does work for more people than it's working for right now. And so Franklin Roosevelt says, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important. So courage is not, courage, there's fear involved with courage. You can't have courage without fear. They're two sides of the same coin. They're just different sides. You have courage on one side and you have fear on the other side. Can you truly have courage without fear? No. That fear is one side of the coin saying, hey, this is dangerous, this is vulnerable, there could be an issue here. The other side is, this is offensive to my principles. This is offensive, this is something I care about. And it's more important than my fear, so I'm going to move on it. And that's what Mr. Roosevelt's saying. Something else is more important than my fear. And that's really important to know. What are our priorities? Where do we stand? Now, Winston Churchill, these are all times of like World War II times where there was a lot of chaos. And he talks about courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. And we understand that part of courage. It's the courage that gets us up to speak. It's the courage that has us speak out in a board meeting and say, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. The second part of that is courage also is what it takes to sit down and listen. There's two sides of courage. To speak up and to have enough courage to step back. That's widening the colors of that particular painting. So there was a fellow, a sergeant named Pluckett. This was in the Korean War, and he was decorated for his courage. And this was during the time when the Chinese had started entering the war and were pushing back the Allies, the Americans. And they were attacked. This was a surprise ambush. And his whole platoon was caught out in the field, out in the open, and was taking on heavy fire. And the Chinese were so dug in that you couldn't see them. You don't know where to fire into the bushes. So Pluckett got up, and he was one of those athletes, a real runner. And he just started charging across the field, dodging and doing all kinds of stuff, just moving in a way to dodge the bullets, I guess. So turned out he didn't get hit. And what that did is it drew the fire from the enemy to him, and they were focusing on him. The other soldiers got a chance to pop up and take aim because they could now see where the fire was coming from. And as a result, they started to take a heavy blow on the enemy, and the enemy retreated. And Pluckett was the hero. Without him, they wouldn't have made it. And so at the ceremony, this is where this is getting to. At the ceremony, they asked him, what does it take to have that much courage to go out there and to risk your life like that? And he said, it didn't take courage. It just had to be done. Wow. So my takeaway on that is, and if we really look in our lives, when we have been the most courageous, it needed to be done. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't a pondering. Gee, what will happen to me if I do this? And back and forth. And if I don't do this, how will people look at me? I mean, we can have all of these conversations, but the reality is, in the moment, he got up and started running. He was propelled by something. And I'm going to call that inspiration. You can call it spirit, you can call it whatever you like, call it the mystery, but something got him up and moved. And that something moves us also. We don't know what to call it, but it's there. And I recognized this first time at family camp. And there is 3 rocks that you can jump off into the river. The first rock is about where the candles are, into the water. It's a nice, comfortable, safe jump. This, little kids are doing it. They're having a great time. Climbing up there was the problem. Now, the second jump is a little higher than the ceiling here. And you have to jump over the first rock to get to the water. So that's a bit of a pucker. And so I'm up there on the second rock, looking down at it, and the first thought says, well, you can feel the fear. And for me, the fear is right here. It's right below the heart, but it's sort of this heart area here. And I'm like, and the thought is, no way. But I know I could do it, but no, I'm not going to do it. And so I step back. I'm going, okay, look, I'm stepping back. This is okay. I'm watching this whole dialogue. And I climb down from the rock. I don't need to do this. I'm not proving anything. But there was something inside. Maybe it was inspiration. I don't know what, but something inside it said, you can do this. Just sort of whispery. You can do this. It's okay. And I guess that you can do this, or permission, or whatever, was more powerful than the fear. Something was more, I don't know, it was just more involved or caring or whatever. It's what I cared about, I guess. I don't know. So I climbed back up again, looked over the side and went, yeah, I could do this. I don't want to, though. And I stepped back, and I knew I was fooling myself. And so I'm sort of standing, leaning up against the rock because I know I have to sort of push off. And so I'm just being there. And you know, if you ever watch somebody at the beginning of a race, everyone gets down and your mark gets set, and there's just this anticipation. It didn't feel like that at all, because I wasn't going to go. But I found myself all of a sudden, the arm came up and the leg started, and I was midair. Who pushed me? And I found, and it was like, whoa, kaboom. Wow, that was fun. And there was this whole confirmation. Now, a couple things happened in that. The first one was to hear the distinction between the fear and the voice. It was clearly distincted. There was the no, and then there was the yes. And I had some choice there. Both were true. And so, wow, that is something within us. And if we pay attention, we can actually see it in action. Number 2 was when it comes down to the exact time of the jump or the decision or whatever that is, my conscious mind didn't make it. something moved me. And if I look closely, I can see that happens all the time. All the time. If you've ever noticed that all of a sudden you'll brush a hair out of the side of your face, you won't even know why. Um, you'll nod at a response, you'll wink, you'll do these things, and it just happens. Just happens. Well, my sense is this whole thing tied up with courage. This courage is something we label to action after the fact. That something within us moves and propels us almost beyond our conscious mind. And it has to do with what we hold dear in our values and our collective experience in life. That we teach who we are, what our actions are, what our collective experience is. We sing that also. We sing from those places. What about grief? What about the courage it takes to enter the grieving process? I had a dear friend die here a couple of weeks ago. That happens when you start to get old. And I'm in a grieving process, but nowhere near to the degree that her wife is. They were married for 35 years. And her whole life has changed. Whole life has changed. What does it take to enter the grieving process to put your life back together? What courage does it take to get out of bed, to face the unknown? And that's really what courage is about. Facing the unknown. You are out of control. You don't know what's going to happen, and there's no way to control it. You can attempt to, but you don't know when the grief is going to hit. And it does again and again. And every time we grieve, when we go into that place, and if we're courageous enough to really enter into it and to feel it, we come to know the territory of what this process is about. And every one of us will go through this. It doesn't necessarily make it any easier, but we come to know the territory of what it feels like to have something that dear ripped away from us. So there's the courage there. The courage there is to live in the mystery of not knowing, of not being in control, of at times being in free fall, and somehow making that okay. What other choice do we have than to really be okay with the unknown? Then the last aspect of the courage is to go inside and to really take a look at, what am I? Who am I? What is this life? What is this experience? Not what I was raised in and told as a child from the religions that say, believe in this, we'll give you a cookie, everything will be okay. And we will discourage you, by the way, of not believing in what you're raised in. We will discourage you from that. Just have faith. I know there's no evidence, but just have faith. What courage does it take to go against our childhood upbringing, our spiritual and religious beliefs that we hold right now? As comforting as they are they true? Is truth important to you? Is finding out what is it really all about? Or would we prefer just to continue where we are right now? Or where's the courage? Or are we comfortable? Now, if we really care about something, we'll enter into that fear. And if we're comfortable and we don't care so much, then we'll stay. It's up to us. It's okay either way. But if you're curious and you want to know what lives beyond the church, all churches, any churches, what's the experience? What guided the masters? What led the masters to discover what they discovered? Should we start to follow that? That takes courage, because things as we know it start to fall away. Things that we held as true maybe are not so true. And the courage is to live in the unknown and to be and act from what we know as true. That's a lot of words. I know that's a lot of words. It's a lot of concepts. The bottom line is if it leads us to kindness, if it leads us to cooperation, if it leads us back to being more loving and more genuine in the world, follow that. And that will be enough courage right there just to follow that. So in closing, we are moved by our interests and what we care about. If your interests take you into the unknown, go ahead and enter into the arena of the mystery. Because that's where the juice is in, and that's where the awakening is in the arena of the mystery. And so here's our affirmation. Today I embrace the inspiration within. I am able to trust the unknown, confident I will find my way. Every day is a new day to listen to inspiration, as it gives us the courage to be the best we can be. And so it is.